All right, first things first, I'm not in danger. I know that the room is a little barren. I know that this background is not what it was over the past few days, but no, Brock Purdy is not laughing at me. I'm at the United Club at the San Francisco airport. I literally just took the shortest flight of my life. It was 24 minutes from Fresno to San Francisco, and we're dedicated here with the 49ers update. I know that I usually come on between 7:30 and 8:30, so I figured, okay, I just landed. I've got a room to do this. I have my stuff. I have the mic. Let's get to the 49ers news. We talked about my 49ers Brock Purdy contract projection a little bit earlier. You can go to the description and click on the link to go check that out up on the San Francisco Standard. But I have got stuff and intel that ties into this, namely the 49ers projected 2025 draft stash. Take a look at this. You could see all their picks. The one that they forfeited, they actually had to forfeit a fifth rounder. And I've got the cost of all these picks, and we're going to build the puzzle, how it's going to work alongside this Brock Purdy contract and all the other stuff the 49ers are going to have to work on over the course of this offseason as they build their roster. Interview today announced for Robert Saleh with the Dallas Cowboys. That's going to happen on Saturday. So Saleh is already interviewed with Jacksonville. That happened yesterday. Tomorrow, he's going to interview with the Raiders. And on Saturday, Robert Saleh is going to interview with the Cowboys. Remember last night I did a big show about Dennis Allen, thinking that he might be a really good fit for the 49ers for a number of reasons. But one of the top ones was maybe they could finally get some continuity. Maybe Kyle Shanahan can finally find his Steve Spagnuolo, somebody who's already been a head coach. It didn't work out and is probably just going to stick around as a defensive coordinator for at least some time. Because the 49ers have already had 3 defensive coordinators in 3 years after they hire this next guy. So I think they certainly would like this next hiree to stick around for multiple seasons. And Robert Saleh's name is really starting to heat up on this coaching circuit. If you could get 3 head coaching interviews, well, chances are that even if you don't get a job this year, you might get a job next year. And then it would be 4 defensive coordinators in 4 years for the 49ers. So even though Saleh might be their first choice, even though it might be the really natural inclination because he did start this defense back in 2017 and he's done such a good job. You know, I talked about how good of a fit Saleh was multiple times. We've done, I think, like 4 shows already talking about Robert Saleh. But if he is taken to be a head coach elsewhere, and even if he isn't, I think you've got to think about longevity here for the 49ers because you will be on your 3rd defensive coordinator in 3 years. So it's going to be really interesting to see how it goes with Robert Saleh. But obviously, he is still a commodity on the head coaching market in a way that I think somebody like Dennis Allen no longer is. Allen's coached the Raiders. He's coached the Saints. Neither of those 2 head coaching jobs worked out, but we know he's a really good defensive coordinator. And in the case of Robert Saleh, he's had 1 crack at the head coaching gig, and that was with the New York Jets. There obviously was a lot of negative stuff that was outside of his control with the Jets, and I think that the league recognizes that. I think the league likes how fiery of a leader he is and also likes that he is not only a defensive mastermind, but he understands offense as well. Remember that the Green Bay Packers brought Robert Saleh to be an offensive consultant. He wasn't working on the defensive side of the ball after he got fired from the Jets while he was working with his friend and former roommate, Matt LaFleur in Green Bay. The Packers actually trusted Robert Saleh's offensive acumen enough to bring him in for that side of the football, which I think makes him an even stronger head coaching candidate because look at all the Super Bowls that have been won over the past 8 years. 7 of the 8 Super Bowl champions have had coaches with an offensive background. The 8th was Bill Belichick, one of the greatest coaches of all time. So the league is definitely skewing in the offensive direction. And somebody like Robert Saleh, yes, he does come up from a defensive background, but he does have experience working with the offense as recently as this year. And I think that's making him really, really attractive in some of these job interviews. So we'll continue to monitor the Saleh situation. We'll obviously continue to monitor the Dennis Allen situation. He's interviewing now. Nothing reported yet with the 49ers. Gus Bradley out there. San Francisco's interviewed Saleh and Deshae Townsend, who's the DB coach for the Detroit Lions. They were able to do that over the Lions bye week, but now the Lions are gearing up to play the Washington Commanders. All right, that's the news very quickly for today. Now we're going to go back to the 49ers draft stash. So the compensatory formula is still just in prediction mode. We don't know exactly because the salary cap has to come out and it's all part of a complicated formula to see what pick the 49ers will have. But Over the Cap has been able to project where the 49ers are going to be able to attain comp picks for departures in free agency last season. And they've combined it with the 49ers known stash of draft picks to project their 2025 allotment. As of right now, the 49ers are projected to have 10 picks in this 2025 draft, starting at number 11 because of their 6 and 11 finish. Then a standard pick in round 2, that's going to be number 43. A standard pick in round 3, that is going to be number 75. This right here is really interesting. The 49ers have gotten these comp picks for the minority coaching incentive, the hires, and this is executives too. So they are still owed a third-round comp pick for the combination of D'Amico Ryans heading to the Houston Texans and Ran Carthon heading to the Tennessee Titans to be their GM. Now, Carthon has already been fired from the Titans. There was a power struggle at the top there, yet the 49ers are still technically receiving a third-round compensatory pick for his promotion away from the 49ers to Tennessee. So that adds a good pick, number 99, a third-round pick to San Francisco's arsenal. They then have a fourth-round pick, number 111, and then they get into their player comp picks. The highest pick that you can get for a player compensatory selection is a fourth rounder. And again, the formula is complicated. Over the Cap actually does a really good job with the formula to really illustrate who cancels who out and how all that works. I could even toss that up onto the screen for you right here. This is the 49ers comp pick situation in 2025, courtesy Over the Cap. As you can see, it's based on a formula of the compensatory free agents that you lost versus the compensatory free agents that you gained. So guys that you sign count against the formula. Guys that walked and sign elsewhere count for the formula. And stuff like playtime, the amount of snaps a player takes over the course of the season, salary, all that good stuff ends up being a factor in the compensatory formula. So it's complicated, but Over the Cap has projected that Chase Young and Sam Darnold will both net the 49ers fourth round picks. Young with his salary of $13 million, that's a lot of money that he earned from the New Orleans Saints, and Sam Darnold with his salary of $10 million, which is also no small chunk of change for the Minnesota Vikings, cancel out anything else that the 49ers added. You could see Yetur Gross-Matos, Isaac Yiadom, Leonard Floyd, Jordan Elliott. Those are all 49ers free agent additions. Those guys cancel out the losses of Kinlaw, Sebastian Joseph Day, Charlie Werner, and Cleveland Farrell, but nobody cancels out Young and Sam Darnold. And then there was Ray McLeod, who also left the 49ers to the Atlanta Falcons. That's going to net the 49ers a seventh round compensatory pick. Anyway, back to this. So they get the two picks in the fourth round, number 137 and number 138 for Chase Young and for the Sam Darnold departures. The 49ers do not have a fifth rounder, which is going to be disappointing to some people because they had to forfeit that due to an accounting error. It's interesting because right now this list has 10 draft picks for the 49ers. John Lynch the other day said that he expected the 49ers might have 11 draft picks. So I don't know if they might get that fifth rounder back, but last word that I heard is that they've had to forfeit that fifth round pick. So they will not have that. We know how much success this team has had in the fifth round in the past. Standard sixth round pick, and then the seventh rounder, there's the standard one, but it was after a pick swap. Remember Zay Gonzalez? A lot of you probably watched Zay Gonzalez this past weekend. The doink kick off the upright to send Washington to Detroit to beat Tampa Bay. Well, the 49ers once had Zay Gonzalez on their roster. That was in the 2023 offseason. Gonzalez was destined to be cut at some point. I think that the 49ers wanted to trade him elsewhere, but that obviously didn't work for San Francisco. They had to cut him. Nobody needed a kicker at the time of the roster cut down, but the 49ers acquired him via a 7th round pick swap, which means that they have pick number 225 instead of their original pick that they swapped with the Carolina Panthers. So that all goes back to a kicker who is now at the center of attention in the postseason, Zay Gonzalez. It's one of the 49ers' 7th round picks. Their final one, the compensatory pick toward the end of the 7th round, that comes in because of the Ray McCloud departure to Atlanta. And before you scoff at 7th round picks at the end of the draft, compensatory selections at the end of the draft, well, maybe you shouldn't scoff at those, because 7th round compensatory picks at the end of the NFL draft have turned into potentially the highest paid player in league history. Yes, Brock Purdy joined the 49ers as pick number 262, which San Francisco attained when CJ Beathard left the team and signed with Jacksonville. That's how they got that comp pick at the very end of the draft, Mr. Irrelevant. So never scoff at picks, no matter where they are, because they can turn into this. That's Brock Purdy either laughing at me because of this very bleak background at the United Club, or pointing to the fact that he has overcome his draft positioning to start talking about a contract that might be worth more than $60 million annually. So this is why we have to talk about finances in the big picture. And this was my Brock Purdy contract projection for the 49ers. I went through everything and I put up the projection right here. $61 million annually, $305 million total value, $143.6 million fully guaranteed. I think that the key is that I was able to keep Brock Purdy's cap hits over the first 3 years low. $15.1 million on a contract worth $60 million annually. So, don't call me a wizard, but I know how the 49ers operate financially. I know how they stretch out prorated signing bonuses and option bonuses in accordion style to push cap hits into the future. It's like a zero interest loan. And yes, I was able to do this. I was able to work my magic to build out a Brock Purdy contract with cap hits of under $30 million in each of the first 3 seasons and only $15.1 million in 2025. So since we're talking about the 49ers 2025 draft stash, we need to tie this in to paying Brock Purdy, because you obviously have to build a team around your star quarterback who might become the highest paid player in football history. To do that, we have to look at simple numbers. If through this technique, you can keep the 49ers cap hit for Brock Purdy in 2025 down to $15.1 million, well, then take a look at this. Let's go to the 49ers salary cap sheet for 2025. $15.1 million. Right now it's $5.2 million for Brock Purdy. So let's do some math. Let's go to 15.1. And there you have it. $49.73 million left. So 49ers have 40 players under contract. This is my 53-man projection. I've input Purdy's number. It's taken another $10 million out of the 2025 cap. They have $49 million to sign the rest of the 53-man roster, 13 more players. Well, the draft class right now is 10 players big right here, or 10 picks big. And those 10 picks are set to cost the 49ers $13.39 million. So just for rudimentary illustrative purposes, why don't we subtract 13.39 from the total here at the top? And there you have it. The 49ers have $36.3 million left over. If all of their draft picks make the team and they don't sign any free agents, They still have 36 million left to spend. I think they're obviously going to dabble in free agency. I don't know how much that's going to cost. There'll probably be some backloaded deals. Sorry, I didn't have that up on the screen. Let me illustrate that one more time so you guys can see. So 49.73 million, and then you take the 13.39 million that the draft class is projected to cost because it's cost controlled, and boom, there you go. The 49ers have $36.34 million left before any free agent signings are considered. Remember that the goal, and I wrote about this in the piece right here, the Brock Purdy contract piece, the goal is to carry over as much money as possible from 2024 into 2025. That's what the 49ers have done over the cost of the past couple seasons. They've religiously tried to stash money, carry it over, because unused salary cap space moves over from season to season. So the 49ers are going to want to do more of that. And it's going to start with hitting on this draft class. They hit on last year's draft class, and now with their 10-pick 2025 stash, they're going to want to hit again, because if you can hit with this, it's only going to cost $13.39 million for 10 players. Realistically, you could probably only expect 7 or 8 guys to make it. I know 2024 was wildly successful for San Francisco, but you still get the point. If you can get a good handful of productive players, a youth infusion into the pipeline, you build on what you did in 2024 with the cost-controlled class. I mean, that's not a lot of money at the bottom of the screen, and you have 2 straight classes surrounding the guy up on your screen, Brock Purdy, at a very, very cost-controlled overall rate. And that is how you're able to afford paying a quarterback this kind of contract, because that is market rate for Brock Purdy, while also building out a strong roster. And here is the 49ers depth chart. At the moment, like I said, I've got 39 or 40 53-man roster spots taken. So there are spots up and down this roster that are up for grabs, and it's going to be very, very fascinating to see if the 49ers can fill them mainly with rookies, but then with a smattering of free agents. Because to stay cap sustainable for as long as possible, the lifeblood of what San Francisco does is going to need to be the NFL draft. That is how you stay good for a long time. That's how you can pay yet another A-lister very top money. Again, this is on pace to potentially be the largest contract in NFL history. I delve into all the reasons why. I delve into the market. So have a read. I'm sending the link over to Mike right now. He's going to put this one into the description so you guys can check it out. But bottom line is that the 49ers have to deftly arrange the deck chairs around the big contract. And then they must deftly arrange the big contract itself to fit into the structure of what they're working with. But I can tell you that they're on good track to do that as we speak, because even after all the business that I just executed, and you could see right here in the salary cap sheet, they've got a lot of cap space left. They've done this really well for several seasons, and they know when they need to make minor cuts. They need, they might seem minor, but those are the cuts that prevent the salary cap situation from overflowing. They know how to practice the flow control from year to year, the carryover from year to year, to set themselves up. And they have been spending the last several seasons setting themselves up for this. They knew that at some point they were going to have to pay a quarterback. I'm not sure that they knew that Brock Purdy, pick number 262, would be the QB. But given the way that he has produced, number 3 in playoff EPA behind only Stafford and Mahomes since 2018, you look at the fact that he's outplayed essentially everybody on the top 5 lists here, especially the APY list. Burrow is the one quarterback who has rivaled him in terms of playoff wins and play quality, but he's outplayed Prescott. He's outplayed Jordan Love. He's outplayed Trevor Lawrence. He's outplayed Tua Tagovailoa. It's going to be time for the 49ers to pay up for Brock Purdy. That's how the market works. And Jed York probably had the best quote of the entire story. The market is what the market is. When we signed Jimmy Garoppolo so many years ago, it was the largest deal in the history of the NFL for 3 minutes. We paid Jimmy 26 or 27 million. And the market has just changed. Whether I like it or not, that's what the market is. And you have to accept the reality of the world. Boom. Accept the reality of the world. That's where the 49ers are with Brock Purdy. That's what they're going to try to navigate around moving forward this offseason. So Mike has the link. I am here to tell you about Rocket Money. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all of the app's premium features. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/gameon today. That's rocketmoney.com/gameon, rocketmoney.com/gameon. All right, I'm ready to answer a few questions here from the United Club upon my arrival back in San Francisco. So let's go. Joe says Brock should only get 50 to 55 million. Where the hell did you get that? You just pulled some numbers out of thin air. Brock Purdy should get what the market rate dictates, period. And Brock Purdy is more accomplished than every single quarterback that is making between 50 and 55 million. The one I could think of at the top of my head is Jared Goff, who's making 52.5 million. Purdy's more accomplished than Jared Goff. Brock Purdy beat Jared Goff in the NFC Championship game last year. I think that anybody who watches the game can agree that he's more mobile than Goff and probably has a higher physical upside because of that. But that's not even the fact of the matter here at play. The salary cap is inflated since Jared Goff signed his deal. So it's a percentage of the cap. And Brock Purdy is going to be signing his contract with the cap at the highest point that it's ever been, which is one of the reasons this cap growth that every single quarterback contract has one-upped the prior one. It's just how the market works. You can't just toss out an arbitrary lower number and expect that to be the number for a quarterback. On top of that, let's pump the brakes on APY. I know that it's a way to summarize things. I know I'm talking about Brock Purdy is the $60 million man, but we absolutely need to look at fully guaranteed money. I wonder if he's going to surpass Burrow in that regard. We need to look at contract structure. That's why I'm putting the big structure up on the screen for you guys, because this is going to determine whether or not it's a good deal for the 49ers. If they can structure it properly, I think I've just demonstrated that they can have a contract worth $61 million annually that works within their salary cap situation. Are you so sure that Brandon Staley is a garbage defensive coordinator? I mean, I just try to stick with the truth on this channel. The Rams had the number one defense in the league the one year that Staley was a defensive coordinator. He was only a DC in the NFL one year. He was then a head coach with the Chargers. That didn't go well. But in 2020, Staley was the DC of the Rams, and they finished as the number one defense. So let's think before we speak. Come on, I want some better comments. Do we have any good questions, or are we going to be talking about how Staley with a number one defense was a bad defensive coordinator? Will I do a mock draft? Yes, but it's still January 15th, so I think it's a little too early for a mock draft. Why is APY used by so many podcast pundits and not true worth by looking at guaranteed money? Well, because it's simpler. I think that a lot of people want the simplest possible explanation, and it's more clickable, right? If you're looking to just get clicks, if you're looking to just easily process contract information and just have a lower level debate, you're going to use APY. And for that reason, players use it for bragging rights. Agents use it to attract new clients. It is important in that way, but it is not the end all be all for determining whether or not a contract is a good contract or not. So there are two different scales that we need to look at this Brock Purdy situation through. One is APY. This is the top 5 list at the moment: Dak, Burrow, Love, Lawrence, Tua, 60 million to 53.1 million. And this is fully guaranteed money. Watson at the top with a crazy deal, but Burrow and Lawrence, when I projected my contract for Purdy right here, this totals up, all the shaded portions total up to $143.6 million. Where would that be? It would be in between Burrow and Lawrence. Lawrence at 142, and then 143.6 would be right under Burrow's 146.5. So I thought that that could be a sweet landing spot for Brock Purdy's deal in terms of fully guaranteed money. Do I think Hufanga will get a long-term deal? If he's back with the 49ers, I think it might be more on a prove-it one-year basis. But we'll see. He was still not, I think, fully 100% back toward the end of the season because he had to have surgery on his wrist following his recovery from the ACL. So not a good set of circumstances for Talanoa Hufanga coming back from the ACL year. So we'll see what the market for him is. And if it's not great, I'm sure the 49ers would be interested in having him back on a one-year prove-it deal. People saying that Brock should play out the last year of his contract to see how he plays next year sounds like draft bias. Absolutely. Brock Purdy has delivered 2.5 really good seasons of play. Brock Purdy is literally ranked number one in EPA ever since he joined the league. He's at the very top of the league. QBR in 2023 was number 1. That is a stat that tries to isolate quarterback play as best it can from anything else. His floor in QBR has been number 7, so he didn't even drop all that far. Then, I mean, if you want to look at this, these are the top 5 contracts by APY. Dak Prescott, Burrow, Love, Lawrence, and Tua. Burrow's won 5 playoff games. The rest of these guys, the other 4 guys, have won a total of 4 playoff games combined. Brock Purdy's won 4 playoff games alone. So nobody was telling Dak Prescott to wait. Nobody was telling Jordan Love to wait. Nobody was telling Trevor Lawrence to wait. Nobody was telling Tua to wait. But you're telling the guy who is 4X as accomplished in the postseason to wait? Yeah, that's draftism right there. We base things as a meritocracy on results. And just because people were wrong on Brock Purdy several times in the past doesn't mean that we have to listen to them be wrong again. They don't have any legitimate voice in this conversation. The people who have been right on Brock Purdy every step of the way have the credibility here. So we will write pieces that are factual about the contract situation like this. If you want to avoid the clickbait, if you want to get to the good stuff on Brock Purdy and a detailed breakdown of the contract situation, which I have in this piece, go sign up for the San Francisco Standard right now. I appreciate your support of these videos. Eric says the Niners signing Brock now gives them salary cap structure leeway. Yes. Eric Gomes gets it. Eric Gomes has been a viewer for a while, but if you can keep Brock Purdy's cap hit at 15.1 million this year, and then in the low 20s in 26, and then under 30 million in 27, and then you hit the non-guaranteed portion of the contract with team control through 2030, or maybe even beyond, if this is a longer deal, if you can do that, well, then you could start restructuring in 2028. You can surf the salary cap wave. This is business 101. You get ahead of these things. You're not held hostage by these things when the deadline comes. People always wanted the deals to come earlier. Well, this is an example of the 49ers working to make a deal come earlier, just like every good NFL franchise, or really any NFL franchise, would try to do with this caliber of quarterback. He's really good, guys. And those of you who don't think so, well, you can get over yourselves because you're wrong. Brock Purdy is really good. The 49ers are lucky to have him. And Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch recognize this, and they recognize it even before Justin Herbert and Jordan Love and Sam Darnold threw up all over themselves this weekend. The quotes that we got from Shanahan and Lynch last week are the quotes that I ended this article with, and those are the be-all, end-all regarding Brock Purdy and a 49ers contract extension. They're operating in good faith When the leaders of the brain trust are operating in good faith, it's a good sign for this to proceed according to plan. Yep. Brock Purdy's hate is only draft biased. That's all. If he was drafted in Jordan Love's spot, everybody would be calling him the next great thing. I think we saw that proven over the course of this past offseason when Purdy clearly was better than Jordan Love in that playoff game. Purdy led the winning drive. Jordan Love collapsed, choked in the fourth quarter through a crossbody pass like Brett Favre against the New Orleans Saints. And everybody was still coming out of that game saying that Jordan Love was the next best thing. And they didn't give Brock Purdy the respect for actually winning. Well, good thing we have this channel. Good thing we have the San Francisco Standard, because we actually could put stuff out there that is truthful, unlike a lot of the content creators out there. So thanks for watching. Go ahead and check out Brock Purdy, the 49ers, and a contract potentially worth $61 million a year if you're into APY. But I get into the actual details instead of the surface level stuff. Thanks for watching today. We had a nice little update, taking a look at all of the 49ers draft picks. And of course, our Robert Saleh update of the day. He's about to interview with the Dallas Cowboys on Saturday. Tomorrow's the Raiders interview for Saleh. So buckle up. 49ers coaching staff search is moving forward. And you know who I would recommend? This is one last thought. And if you like this thought, I think the 49ers should interview John Fossil. Speaking of the Cowboys, he was with the Cowboys under Mike McCarthy. I think John Fossil deserves an interview for the 49ers special teams coordinator job. Just my thought. Yesterday, I brought up Dennis Allen. Today, I'm bringing up John Fossil. Now I'm headed back from the airport into the city. Apologize for the rather depressing background, but it's important to give you guys the update. We'll talk soon.